episode of Sweet Mountain Crafts podcast. This is a podcast all about knitting, crocheting, sewing, spinning, weaving, lots of things fiber related. So I'm glad you've joined me today. My name's Carissa, and as this is my first podcast, I figured I'd take a little time today to introduce myself. So I am a knitter for about 20 years now, and probably have jumped into this fiber world mostly because of my knitting. But I first learned to crochet when I was a little girl, and I started into fiber arts around the age of 7. I am a mom of 4 kids. I have 2 that have already graduated and are in college. One is away at college, the other one is still at home, but is attending community school and anticipates flying the coop here in the next little bit. My other 2 are at home yet. They're in high school, and they do a private online Christian school. So I have homeschooled them up until this point. All 4 of my kids were homeschooled. But now that they are getting a little older and off on other things, I'm done with my major years of teaching. So that has also led me further into the fiber world because I am now a retired school teacher. At this point, I anticipate teaching, but probably primarily just for fun. I've been married for 22 years. My husband's a huge supporter. He tolerates so much of my yarn and fiber fun. When I got started into more yarn stuff, I got excited about dyeing and just started sharing that with my husband. And he encouraged me full force to jump onto that and have fun with it. And he said, why don't you go ahead and turn it into a business? So I have, and it's been a huge blessing for me because as I'm transitioning from being homeschooling mom to being a mom with kids starting to leave the house, I needed something that was going to be for me, and this has been that thing. So it's been a huge answer to prayer and a big blessing in my life already. I have a little bit of acreage that we live on here with my family. We just call it a hobby farm. It's not a large property, but it does allow me to have some animals. At this point, I don't have any fiber animals. We do have goats and llamas, but neither are fiber quality. The goats are for dairy. The llamas are for guard animals more than anything. And then we have other animals on the property: dogs, cats, chickens, pigs. We live in the mountains of Wyoming, which gives me lots of opportunity to wear all the things that I love to create. What's my main reason for starting this podcast? Obviously, there's lots of podcasters out there. There's so many that I love to watch and I enjoy hearing from. But I've decided that I'm going to take on this challenge because I need some accountability. I am a dreamer. I love coming up with all kinds of new ideas, and my creative side of me is constantly going. I always have thoughts and lots of plans, but sometimes my follow through isn't so strong. One of those areas that I struggle with is that while I do have a hand dyeing, indie dyeing yarn business, I love what I do, but I'm really, really bad about communicating with my customers. So I start newsletters, I don't get them done. I'll get a newsletter done so infrequently that I don't follow up very well online. So I love Instagram, photography, and pictures. Anything visual is a great way for me to be able to share what I do, and I love seeing what everyone else does too. So I use Instagram a lot. You can find me on Instagram at Sweet Mountain Crafts as my primary business account. I'm also on there as Sweet Mountain Mohair, which is a secondary part of my dyeing business. And then I'm also on there as Sweet Mountain Fiber, which is where you'll tend to find more of my own personal projects that incorporate yarns from other dyers or even the store-bought yarns and such. I will start with what I'm wearing. This is a sweater that I knit and finished over the course of the last year. It's the Point a Pins pullover by CR Morningstar. It's knit in one of my hand-dyed yarns, so Sweet Mountain yarn, Mount DK weight. It is called Serenity, And this is a all Wyoming wool. So it has been raised in Wyoming, processed in a mill in Buffalo, Wyoming, and then hand dyed by myself here in Wyoming. And I love this sweater. It's a go-to favorite of mine. I just wanted a super comfy, super cozy sweater. The fit is great. I'll pop pictures up here to show you. I really love this sweater. It is a go-to, just everyday kind of wear sweater for me. This yarn base is actually the same base that I've chosen to use in a Christmas cash kit that I've put together for this year. Those were a pre-order that is now closed. But for anyone that purchased one of those kits, the yarn base is what is in this sweater. It's a Targhee wool, and it's just super cozy, next to skin comfortable. As you can see, it's next to my bare skin, and I love it. It's not itchy or uncomfortable at all. Next segment that we're going to do is called Keeping Me Accountable. These are my works in progress, and this is my opportunity to share with you what I'm working on so that you can help keep me accountable. And hopefully I'll get some of these things done. This first project that I have is in a hand sewn bag by me, just a little project bag, a knot bag that I love. This is my go-to sock knitting bag, and in it I have just barely started a pair of socks. I'm a 2 at a time magic loop sock knitter. On here I have my Tiddly Bakes jack-o'-lantern, which are available in the shop in case anyone should need a jack-o'-lantern for their fun fall projects. The toes of this sock are being worked in one of my own hand-dyed yarns called Frost is on the Pumpkin. It came from a set of minis that I did last fall, actually. And then the main yarn, unfortunately, I've lost the ball band on this, but it's a nice sparkly, it has a stellina in there, and it's kind of grays, purples, greens. It's just a really fun yarn that makes me think of fall. So these are being knit using my own vanilla sock pattern, which is one that I've kind of come up with on my own. I do a short row toe and then also a short row heel on my socks. I'll show more of that later, but it's just a very basic knot thinking pattern that I can take with me when I need to leave the house and sit somewhere in the vehicle or in a waiting room or whatever. I always have a pair of socks on the needles that are my go-to just travel project. Yeah, I also have, now this has been a longer term project. This is my Marshland sweater by Tin Can Knits. You can see I am so close to being done. I have one sleeve to finish and the neck to finish. And I can't really say why I haven't gotten this done other than it's a very woolly sweater. I love the weight of it. And so maybe just through the summer months, I started this last fall. I think through the warmer months, it's just harder for me to pick up a project like this, as well as the fact that I know that even if I finish it, I'm not going to wear it during the summer. So it's been kind of sitting on hold for a little bit. So I'm showing it off today as an opportunity to make sure that I get this done. So what I'm using in this sweater is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. I have 5 colors in it. Let's see, we've got the main body of the sweater is Flagstone. The accent colors are Oyster, Thirst Heather. I should say heather all the time, I guess. It's Flagstone Heather because they're all a tweed. So Wool of the Andes tweed. Flagstone Heather, Oyster Heather, Thirst Heather, Brass Heather. Oh, there's 6 actually. I'm missing one. Prussian Heather, and the last one is Barn Door Heather. So I'm loving this. This is the first time I've used Wool of the Andes for a larger project like this, and it again seems like it's going to be super cozy, nice and thick with all that color work in it. This will probably be another go-to wintertime sweater, especially when the days are super chilly out here. Just gives me something warm to cuddle up in around the house or when going out even. But I've already tried this on a couple times. The fit is really nice, so I'm excited to get further on this project. All right, next up I have a project that I started a year and a half ago. Unfortunately, this is one that gets set aside often too, and I think it's just because the nature of it. So this is my Hot Cocoa Poncho by TL Yarn Crafts, Tony Lipsy. I love the idea of this poncho because it's very simple, just again basic, warm, and I'm enjoying it well enough. It's just that it's, you know, it's a poncho, so it's just a large rectangle, and I'm getting close to where I'm going to be able to join it, you know, to connect it for the poncho. But since it's pretty simple, I find this sits and waits for me a lot. It's not high priority. So my thought is that it'd be something that I could just throw on, sit around the campfire, or when we're gone camping as well. So it's kind of my camping poncho, I guess, in my head. The yarn I'm using is Peace Fleece in Quiet Bronze, and it is just a really beautiful yarn with flecks of purple and orange. It kind of reads a little bit of an olive green with a brown to it. So yeah, not typically my go-to colors, but Peace Fleece had this on sale. I think this was part of their clearance at the end of one of their runs, and I love how the colors just kind of pop. Those little bits of color pop out of the yarn. It is an itchy yarn, so it won't be next to skin soft, but I'll enjoy wearing it when I can. And like I say, just throwing it on as a poncho would be thrown on over something else anyway, not expected to be worn right next to the skin. So another sweater that I'm working on is right here in this bag. This is a project bag I won actually just from a giveaway. I was part of a helping promote a book, and the author did a promotional giveaway, and I won a bag from her that her mom made. I love it because it has chickens on it, and like I said, well, it has roosters on it. I guess there's some chickens too, but we have chickens, and so I love chicken things. All right, so in this bag is another project that I started a while back, and I like how this is turning out, but there's some edits I'm gonna have to make to it because I didn't check gauge. I should have checked gauge, I know, but I didn't. I just decided, I was so excited to get started on this that I just got started going, and anyway, I love it. This is the Feel the Burn sweater by Boyland Knitworks, a pattern that she gave out for free, but asked that you would donate money. So into like a food bank or something like that. I donated to Feed America. But this is my Feel the Burn knit in Sweet Mountain Yarns, Wyoming worsted in turquoise, charcoal, cream, and then this purple is unnamed because it's a color that I was just kind of playing with. But I love these colors. I'm so excited to get this done. So why am I held up on it? You can see all I have left to do is the sleeves. I had to redo the neck a couple times because the first time it was huge. It was way too loose and not at all what I was hoping for in a sweater. And in a chunky sweater neckline, I guess I should say. So I redid the neck to make it a little bit tighter. But when I put it on, it's just a little too wide for me. So I think what I'm gonna do, because of the color work in it, I don't want to rip it back. I don't really want to frog it. I think I'm just gonna sew it. So the reason that this is sitting at the moment is that I'm nervous to do that, but I think what I'm gonna do is just flip it inside out and sew on my sewing machine a seam up the side, just to take it in a little bit on the sides. And so the sleeves are on hold until I do that because I don't want to, obviously when I do that it might close up this armhole just a little bit as well, and so I don't want to finish the sleeves until I have that done. So that makes me a little nervous. So again, you guys are my accountability. You're going to be here to cheer me on, and hopefully that will go well, and maybe by the next episode I'll be able to show this off completed with modifications. It's super soft though. I should say this Wyoming worsted wool is again a Wyoming produced wool. So it is Rambouillet that has been raised in Wyoming, processed in Buffalo, and then dyed by me. Anyway, super excited to get that done. I just need to bite the bullet on it, make it happen. All right, another thing that I'm working on. So as I said, I do knitting, I do crochet. I don't think I mentioned that the poncho is a Tunisian crochet that I'm doing. The sweaters are both knit, the socks are knit, but I also love to spin. So last Christmas, my husband bought me a spinning wheel, a Shacked Sidekick, and it is so much fun. Oh, it's so much fun. It took a little bit of a learning curve in the beginning. It just took me a while to get the motion down and the rhythm of it. But once you get it, it's so enjoyable. So my next keep me accountable is I have some art yarn kits, let's call it that. Now these are kits that I made up myself. So I purchased or dyed fiber, and then I take that fiber and I combine it with other goodies in order to spin an art yarn. And so what I mean by that, let me just pull these up, is like in this package here, I have a fiber that this was dyed by the Woolly Cabin, and this is called Ozark Hiking Trail. It's a BFL, which is a blue-faced Leicester. And what I did is that I took this fiber and I just saw, found the colors in it that I want to pull out. And then I've thrown together a kit of other items to go with it. So I have a yarn base. This is a non-superwash, I think it's 100% wool, but I'm not positive, but it's just leftovers from my stash that I may end up using as a core so that I can core spin this. Core spinning is where you would take fiber, and as you're spinning it, you're wrapping this fiber over this yarn, and that creates a really cool effect. So I will possibly be doing some core spinning with this. That's why I stuck this in there, because the other thing with core spinning is sometimes the core can show. And so in this situation, I like the fact that it blends well enough that if the core did show at all, it would look nice together. I've also shoved in here some tulle that again just blends really nicely with the fiber. I have some other fibers. These are from Greenwood Fibers. I don't know the blend on this. This was again just part of their tidbits or leftovers, so I'm not sure what the blend is. My guess is that there's some either Tencel or Lyocell in there because of some of this lighter color. It might be silk in there, considering the sheen on it. But again, just the colors went fairly well with this, and it just adds some pizzazz when doing an art yarn, to kind of mix up the fibers a little bit instead of having them all be consistently the same. I have some threads. This is just a cotton, like a crochet cotton, and this will be something that I intend to auto wrap. So auto wrapping is where you allow the thread to hang, and as it's going in, it just feeds over the yarn. All these things are things that I can show eventually. I don't have it right now to show, but anyways, this is just kind of what my art yarn kits look like. There's some other goodies in there, some more ribbons and a chenille ribbon, some lace, some binding. Anyway, just different things that I put into these kits. So my goal is to spin some art yarn with these And when they're spun up, then I'll be able to show them off. So I wanted to show you kind of where I start with the thought that when I get done with it, I'll be able to show you guys what I make. So that's one kit, kind of a very earthy kit. Another one that I've put together here is a hand-dyed, main fiber is hand-dyed by me. It's Dew Pearled Hillside is the name of the fiber, and it is on, let's see, this would be on the Polworth. And then I have some Lycocell in there, and some mohair roll eggs in there, and some other goodies in the top of that bag. And then the last art yarn kit that I'll show you guys today that I hope to get spun up. This is a fun kit because it's got lots of crazy goodies in the middle of it. I kind of am going for like a mermaid or something like that. The main fiber in this kit is hand dyed by the Yarn Mage, and this is 100% merino wool. She called it Golden Hour. And it just looks mermaidy, or I don't know, kind of fantastical to me in a way. And so I started putting ribbons that would go with that. I have some silver thread to go with it. I have some sequins. We'll see how those do. Again, I have a roll egg, a mohair roll egg, and oh, everything's kind of hanging together here. Anyway, I have some pink tulle. Anyway, again, so many fun things that I'll put together. We'll see how it turns out. I'll be sure to share photos and show you guys what I come up with once I get those art yarns spun. So here in a little bit, I'll show you what I do with the art yarns once they're spun. But before we go to that, I have one more work in progress that I can show you guys. Now, this shouldn't be a surprise to many because this is everywhere right now. It seems like so many people are doing this. So Stephen West just released his first couple clues for his mystery knit along of this year, and it is his shawlography shawl. And so, yes, I've decided to join the party. So I am using all Sweet Mountain yarn colors here to knit this shawl. I am not very far, so if you are knitting the shawl and you don't want to see any, again, there's not much here, but if you don't want to see it, you can look away for a moment. I'm going to show clue 1, or at least the first portion of clue 1. So this is as far as I've gotten so far. There's quite a few bits to do yet, even on this. Like I say, this is just the beginning part of clue 1. Clue 2 has already been released, but I am not stressing it, as Stephen says to not stress. I'm going at my own pace and just enjoying it. It's not a race, right? But here, let me show you the colors that I'm using for it. So kind of as my main color, and I know that this color, it was suggested that this might get a little muddy because it has so many of the other colors in it, but I was okay with that. I didn't necessarily want really bright, flashy colors, so I chose colors that were more subdued, more me, more likely for me to wear it once I'm done with the shawl. So this first one is actually, it was a one-of-a-kind colorway I did called Mood I'm In. And it's just got lots of lovely colors in it. I'll pop a picture up on the screen of a close-up of it. That's my color A, or color B actually. My color A is this. It's called Teacup and Saucer. It's part of a series that I do featuring colors that make me think of tea time. And so Teacup and Saucer has kind of a mauve, there's little hints of brown and cream colors in this. Anyway, just kind of a fun, it reads mostly a dark pink, but kind of a mauvey pink color. So then my color B was the Mood I'm In. The color C is Nodding Violet, which is just all kinds of shades of purples and violets. I love this color because as I'm knitting it, it's fun to see how kind of a pink purple comes out, and then kind of a blue purple comes out. And anyway, loving that as I'm working with it. My color, let's see, my color D is Wild Thyme. Thyme as in the herb thyme, wild thyme. I love this color too. This is, if you hadn't already noticed, green is going to be a common color in my palette because it's one of my favorites. So green is an often used color. And then my second favorite color is in the blue family. So this is again one of my favorites. This is called On the Bank. And all of these are on a slope sock base, which is a 2-ply fingering weight, and superwash merino, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. And I'm having a ton of fun knitting this up. So as you can see, like I said, I'm not very far, but it's okay. I'll get there when I get there, and I'm enjoying the process in the meantime. I have lots of other projects I've been working on recently, not just fiber related. So this is what I do usually when I sit and watch TV with my family. Yeah, so that's my works in progress. That's my keep me accountable. Next up, I have, woohoo, I made it. These are my finished objects. I'm going to be kind of all over the place with this today because obviously as my first podcast, I have lots of history of projects and things that I've completed. So I'm not going to go way far back. I'm just going to do some of my more recent finishes. Someday maybe I'll go through and pull out things that I've done over the years. But for right now, I'm just going to focus on some of the more recent finished objects. So first off, I'll show this shawl that I've finished. This is the Catherine Ann shawl by Sue Gairns. This was a project that was supposed to be knit in preparation for Prairie Hand Spinners, which is a Fiberfest that happens up in Billings, Montana. Unfortunately, it was canceled this year, but the plan was that a group of women were all working on the same shawl in order to bring it or wear it for display at the Fiberfest. So it was still fun. I love the shawl. I love the colors of it. I love how it turned out. This was knit using Fiber Seeds Sprout DK. The darker kind of wine color is Brambleberry, and then the variegated color is Hearthside. And I had those yarns for a little bit and just, yeah, totally loved working this up. Next up, I have the Hopper Socks. This is a pattern designed by Sarah of Denim and Rain Fibers. She has not yet released this pattern that I know of. This was a test knit for her, but DK weight socks seem to be more popular right now, or at least I've been seeing a lot of patterns for them, and I wanted to try a pair of my own because up to this point I've only knit fingering weight socks, but we live in a house with all wood floors, so I really wanted to try some more DK weight socks soon. So I went ahead and gave these a try and tested the pattern out. It's a great pattern. Hopefully she'll release soon. I used a US 4 3.5 millimeter needle on these. I again used magic loop. I did 2 at a time when I did these, and really enjoyed working on them. For all of my needles, I should say that I predominantly use ChiaoGoo red lace needles. I find that they're the easiest for me to use for sock knitting, and then I also have an interchangeable set, so that makes it my most commonly gone to set for most things, but occasionally I'll use other needles, and I'll try to remember to tell you guys. The yarn on this is my hot chocolate with just a natural, or what I call cream, accent color there, and then golden, and these are all on my Mount DK. So the differences between the two DK weights that I have here is that this is a non-superwash wool, this is superwash. So this is 100% superwash wool. It's a product of Peru versus the American made wool. But yes, I loved these. Let's see, I might take one off the blocker and just show you really quick the front pattern, because it's just a fairly simple pattern, but just adds for some interest there. yeah, so these are going to be Christmas presents that I finished. It's nice to have those done. And while I have my sock blockers out, I'll show you some other socks that I just finished. This is one of my gradient sock yarn sets. So the idea with these, this is a cake dye gradient, which is where I wind the yarn into a cake and then I submerge it in the dye. And so it picks up the color in just a really fun way. Usually there's a little bit lighter and it slowly adds more and more color as it goes. You can see I used an accent here on the toes, heels, and cuff. This would have been knit using a ChiaoGoo 1, US 1, 2.25 millimeter needle. Typically this is a sock for myself. And so when I knit for myself, I typically knit a 58 stitch sock, 58 stitches around. And so I'm pretty certain that that's what I did on these. The one thing that I find that when I use an accent color for heels, toes, and cuffs, I don't use all of the 100 grams. Or in the case of these, I should just show this. This is what this comes as when I sell the set. So I sell it as 250 gram skeins plus a 20 gram skein of yarn. So the 20 gram is more of a tonal or a solid, and then the 50 grams are made to match so that you have a matching pair of socks. I do have the mate to this sock. It's not properly, like the ends aren't finished and stuff, but the mate is very closely matched to the sock. But what I was going to say is that I find that when I do this, when I have 100 grams plus the 20 grams, it's more than I need, especially since I only do a 58 stitch around for my foot circumference. I end up with enough to do more. So that's what I did with the set. I took, and you'll be able to see more of the gradient here, I took the remainder of it and did a 56 stitch round. So this is just the remainder of that gradient set. So if you can imagine, this is the rest of that cake, and you can see how it got darker on the outside of the cake versus the inside of the cake. So on this one, I didn't use any of the contrast or of the complementary mini for heels, toes, and cuffs. I just used the remainder of the yarn, and I knit a shorty that will also be a Christmas present. So this set makes 2 full pairs of socks. So here's the second sock here, I still need to weave in ends, but here's the second sock here that goes with that one. And then again, I need to finish weaving in ends on this, but here's the second sock here that goes with this one. So that's what I got out of one of those sock sets. I don't have any more of those sock sets in the shop at the moment, but they are available at Grand Loop Yarn in Cody, Wyoming. She has about 6 sets available, and I hope to get more of those dyed soon because they're just fun. I love seeing the colors. Oh, and I didn't say, but this color is called Sky Clouds, and I think it perfectly shows that. It's just very much makes me think of a sky with lots of clouds. Anyway, so that's my 3 pairs with these finished socks that I've done recently. 2 of those are Christmas presents, so that's a good feeling. All right, the next thing that I've finished is another test knit that I did. This is being released probably before this podcast is released, so this should be available now. This is the Autumn Bloom hat by Stephanie of Rosie Posey Knits Company. And she just did a really simple colorwork hat in a chunky weight yarn or a bulky weight yarn. This yarn is Hue and Me, put out by 2 of Wands and Lion brand, and it is an acrylic yarn that just makes for really fun gift knitting. especially this time of year where you're trying to get a bunch of projects done maybe quick to start putting some things away for gifts. It was a fun knit to do. The colors that I used here are Shadow, and the pink color is Rosewater. Unfortunately, those were the only two colors I had of Hue and Me on hand. So I ended up, for the cream color here, I just held some of my DK weight yarn that I had, some scrap yarn that I had around. And it's held, I actually ended up having to hold 3 strands in order to match the gauge of the Hue and Me. But I think it turned out well. I think it turned out fine to be able to do that, and it allowed me to be able to get this test knit done so that I could make sure that I got this off the needles and in time for her to finish up her work on it, on her pattern. So just a cute, simple hat, but fun to do. I do enjoy test knitting. It is another thing that keeps me accountable, right? Because if I sign up for a test knit, I have to get it done in time. And so I do enjoy test knitting on occasion, if I feel like I can. Obviously hats and socks are pretty quick, but typically I won't sign up for anything larger than that if I don't feel like I have the time, because I can have lots to get done. All right, the last thing that I'm going to show you as a finished object is some of my hand woven stuff. So as I was saying, oh no, I guess that's not all. Let's look at spinning first. So first of all, some of the art yarns that I've spun. So as I was saying, art yarns are just kind of a fun project for me to work on. It can be totally random and use all kinds of things. And so here is an example of an art yarn that I've spun. It just gets super crazy, really, really fun. And I've really enjoyed playing with my wheel and coming up with how to spin an art yarn. So yeah, I'll show you what I do with these in just a minute. But this one uses, as a primary fiber in this, or I don't know the fiber content, but the colors are it's from a greenwood fiber braid. And I really like those pops of coral, a little bit of a turquoise in there, and then browns and creams. Anyway, I haven't worked with this one just yet, but I have ideas for it. So that's one of my art yarns. Another art yarn I have here, this one I did use in a project, so this is just what I have left over. Again, the primary color in this is from greenwood fiber. It's all kinds of blues and greens and seafoam color. Really made me think of the ocean. I put some tulle in it with some extra, strings, sparkly. These strings have a little sparkle in them. There's mohair and lycocell, and this is core spun. So this is where the yarn has been spun around a yarn core. In this case, I just used a white yarn. And so with this, I made this. So this little round weaving incorporates this art yarn, and you might be able to see it a little bit in this section here and down in here. But then along with this, what I did is I took some additional yarns or fibers or other things and wove those into the project as well. So in this project, in this weaving, I have a variety of things that weren't in this yarn that I just brought into the project to make it extra fun. And I just think this is super cute. I love this little project. It might be kind of silly because it's definitely something that not everyone would like. It's not everyone's taste. My husband doesn't know what to think of them. But to me, it's just a little fiber happiness in a weaving that you can hang on a wall to add some cheer somewhere. So I love how that turned out. While we're talking about art yarns and weaving, another one that I finished recently. This was a super fun one to do. So this is where I spun primarily a coarse spun yarn, but using all different fibers. So there's some sparkle, looks like Selena in there. It appears to be some silk, lots of wool content. These were just an assortment of fibers that I'd received from different places, random little bits. Some of this was leftovers from other things or whatever, but I spun it into one long continuous art yarn, and then I took that yarn and wove it onto this macrame hoop. It was very fun. I love this one. It just turned out really moody. It's kind of like a moody rainbow or something like that. It looks like a storm has just passed or is coming through, and yet the sun's shining and there's a rainbow. So I love how that one turned out too. Anyway, these are so fun because it's easy to just get lost. I kind of lose track of time when I'm working on these projects. But I have more planned. That's what the art yarn spinning is all about. So that'll be coming soon. Some other of my finished projects. This is a handspun that I did. This is, it kind of makes me think of the Peace Fleece actually because of the bits of color in it. But this was some wool that I bought from a family farm down closer to Riverton, the Jennings family farm. It is just a mix of probably natural colored fibers and then some hand dyed fibers, but just little bits, and it comes through with little pops of color. And I just really love how that turned out. I'm leaning towards possibly knitting a shawl from this, or crocheting a shawl, or excuse me, knitting a scarf or crocheting a scarf from this. Yeah, those pops of colors. So the colors are mostly purple, turquoise, blue, pink, and then brown is kind of the overriding color that you see in this. But I think it just make a really, really fun multi-use type scarf since it's got all the colors in it. And it is super soft, so it doesn't have any itch factor to it, even though it's got some of those just natural fibers in there. I love how that turned out. And then this rainbow yarn, I did a, let's see, I did a bit of a fractal spin on this. A fractal spin is where you take and you separate your fibers. So this came in a fiber braid initially from the Woolly Cabin. It was dyed by the Woolly Cabin. It's Rambouillet is the fiber content. And what I did is that then I took the braid and I split it into different sections. And there's lots of videos online about fractal spinning, but I didn't do mine precisely. I just did kind of a quick, you know, take the initial braid, separate it in half, take that half, separate it in half, take that quarter, separate it in half, and kind of did that in order to separate the braid into different lengths of color as I was spinning it. So what that ended up doing is that I have, and it's harder to tell when it's just in the hank form like this. When I actually make this into a project, this will be easier to see. But what it does is that there's going to be short segments of color, and then slowly those segments will get longer and longer to where then I will have like, and you can probably predominantly see some of the longer sections of color. So, and then in order to preserve that appearance, I did a chain ply on this, or a Navajo ply, which is where you're just doing really large crochet chain. So as it's going into the wheel, you create a chain, you pull your yarn through that as you're plying it. So it's a single, you spin it into a single, and then that single is then chained into a 3-ply yarn. So totally fun. That actually, if you want to see me doing that while I was actively doing it, you can go on my Sweet Mountain Fiber and look up one of my reels, and it shows me chaining the ply on this. Anyway, so I love how that turned out. I love just the brightness. The rainbow is always a happy, fun display of God's greatness in the sky. So I love rainbow things, and I love how this rainbow Rambouillet came out. My next segment is thanks for the encouragement. This is where you guys, or somewhere along on the interwebs, I have found something that has sparked my interest to purchase. And so these are my acquisitions. First off, I'm going to show, because I've been showing some of her things anyway, the Woolly Cabin sadly has decided to stop her days of dying. And she has had beautiful yarns and fibers, and so I didn't want to miss out on getting some of her things put into my stash before she was completely done or sold out. So as you can tell, I already had the rainbow color was hers, and some of my art yarn kits, I have some of hers, and then I have some more of hers as well. So here's the Woolly Cabin October Day fiber braid. This is a merino base. I love these colors. They do just really say autumn or fall, and I think that I would love a pair of socks. I don't know how good my fingering weight spinning is, so these are set aside until I feel like I'm a little bit better at spinning a fingering weight yarn, because I would love to be able to knit a hand spun pair of socks for myself. So, but anyway, I love the colors there. This is, excuse me while I grab the tag. This is some Rambouillet dyed by You and I. This is in the Whisper colorway. And again, it's just so pretty. I look forward to spinning this up yet. I don't know yet exactly what I want to do with this, so I don't have any spinning plans in mind for it right now, but it's pretty, and I wanted to make sure to get a hold of some of it to put in my stash. Next up, this is a very special package. Oh, I was so excited to get this package. So this came from Sweden. This is from a shop there called Swedish Fiber. The owner of it is Sandy, and I was so excited to get this. First of all, it's fun to get stuff over the sea anyway, from across the ocean. But then these are breeds that are new to me that I haven't spun before at all, so I'm excited about that. This first one is Finool. It is a rare breed of Swedish fiber, and oh man, this is just so soft. Oh, I can hardly wait to get this one and play with it on the wheel. I have no idea. Actually, probably this one will just be kind of loved on and hoarded for a while before I actually decide to spin it up. I think it's so fun. Yes. Anyway, love my fiber, right? A high fiber diet, of course. And then she sent Helsing a sample for me of just some locks. This is stapled, so I'm not going to open the bag up right now, but some locks that are all just different colors, creamy and a little bit of a golden color and grays and browns, just lots of color in those natural locks. And then this part, oh, I pulled this out and my family says it looks like hair, and it does a little bit, but oh my goodness, so luxurious. These are Gotland lamb locks. Look at that. Oh, I can hardly wait. So I haven't done much tail spinning or lock spinning, and so I really am excited to play with this. But again, I'm not sure I know what I'm gonna do with this just yet, but I love just looking at it. It's so gorgeous. So many colors. I don't know if the camera can pick up all those colors, but just the grays and browns and blacks, and oh, so fun. So I'm looking forward to playing with the Gotland lamb locks for sure. So those are some of my most recent acquisitions. I don't have any recent yarn purchases, surprisingly. I think I've been busy just so busy dyeing and getting my Christmas cash kits put together and lots of things that way that I haven't done any yarn purchasing for a little bit. But not to say there isn't yarn purchases throughout the year. Just at the moment, I don't have any yarn to show. Now we will go into my shop talk. So like I said, part of my accountability on this podcast is the fact that I am not great at getting newsletters out to all of you to tell you what I have in my shop. And lots of times I'm updating my shop with just little bits. I tend to always keep things in my shop. I don't let my shop go completely empty at any point. Just because if someone has come to look at my stuff, I want there to be something there for them to see. So to start off, you've probably noticed that I have a pile sitting right here next to me. These are something that my intention is to get a newsletter out here really soon. Highlighting these because I have a fun couple projects with these. This is my Boulder Bulky Weight. This is a 100% superwash yarn. It is a product of Peru, and with this yarn I love just the feel of it. It is a super soft, super smooth feel. I don't even quite know how to describe this yarn. It has just a really nice weight to it. And the projects that I make with this Boulder Bulky are just, I just really like how they turn out. So I haven't yet knit a sweater with this. I really need to do that. But at this point, these come in really handy for doing quick gift knitting or crocheting. So here I'm just going to go through some of the colors, and then I'm going to just explain at least a couple projects that I've done with this yarn. So this is my hot chocolate again on my Boulder Bulky base. So hot chocolate is a color that you'll see frequently because I'm not a coffee drinker, and so when I think dark beverages, it's either tea or hot chocolate. And I do love chocolate. And then this one is Rust. I will put up images of all of these online or on the podcast as well, so you can see the colors better. Pumpkin. Evergreen. I should state that each of these is 100 grams with 121 yards. Inspire. Inspire has lots of colors in it, blues and purples. Lots of colors that come through on that one. Mountain Splendor, which is purples and blacks. A really good team colorway if you're looking for a sporty, like a sports team type yarn. Expectation. Caramel. And Fall Aspen. Fall Aspen's a fun, just really golden color with pops of orange in it. I love how Fall Aspen turned out. So what can you do with this yarn? Well, on my website, I have 2 patterns available. One of them is my own that I designed specifically for this yarn with the thought that it is such a great gift knitting or crocheting project yarn that I wanted to come up with a pattern that just featured this yarn specifically. So I designed the cozy or cable hat. And so this is just, it's a fairly simple cabled hat. It does have a double brim, but the yarn with this hat, it works so nicely. It's got a nice weight to it, and yet it is super comfy and warm. The other pattern that I would highly encourage for these, that was designed with this yarn as well, is the Shalom slippers. This is a slipper by Dole Valley Girl Knits, Lisa. She bought some of my yarn and then designed this pattern, and it's a super cozy slipper pattern. These are my go-to slippers actually. So Lisa designed this pattern last year, and I tested the pattern for her, and then I wore these all through the winter last year. So and they'll be in my closet through this winter as well. This takes 2 skeins of the yarn. I only put out 1 of each of these colors, but I do have multiples of these colors available. And if you're going to make the slippers, you do need 2 of them. The hat, even though I do have the pattern in adult small to large, so small, medium, and large, you'll only need 1 skein for the hat. So if you're looking for some gift knitting ideas, you can definitely look at these. This pattern, even though it was designed by Lisa, she gave me the ability to sell the pattern on my website as well. So if it makes it easier for you, that if you should be interested in knitting some slippers, you can certainly purchase the yarn and the pattern on my website. We split the proceeds of that pattern, and so she does get paid if that pattern sells through my website. But just so you know, that's available. Check it out. All right. So another thing that I like to dye and just have totally so much fun with, as I said, I do a lot of sock knitting with 4 kids. Probably socks are something that I started knitting the majority of, because if I was going to knit one a pair of socks, I had to knit them all a pair of socks, right? I don't knit for them so much, socks for them so much at this point, because as they've gotten older, first of all, they grow so fast, it's hard to keep up. But yeah, I haven't knit them socks for a couple years maybe. Anyway, the last time I did socks was probably 2 Christmases ago, and I did their Hogwarts houses. So they each got socks themed off of the houses that they identified as. But that was before I was dyeing yarn. So anyway, back to my own hand dyeing. I loved knitting crazy socks. Like if I'm gonna knit with wild colored yarns, more often than not, it's going to be in my socks. When I choose for sweaters, for sure, I might use, like I did with my Feel the Burn, I did like this purple is a little bit more wild, a little bit louder. But most often, if I'm going to knit crazier colors, it's going to be my sock yarn. So my sock yarn is where I kind of play. And you'll see that I love to put together sock sets, because one thing that's really important to me is that I guess when I started knitting socks, I really, really love the look of a heel, toe, and cuff that is contrasting. I just think it makes for a fun looking sock. I don't have any problem, and there are times that I will knit socks just one color all the way through, but I like so much the look of a contrasting heel, toe, and cuff. So when I started dyeing yarn, one of the things that I really wanted to focus on and that I've loved doing is my sock sets. So at this point in time, I have a number of these listed in my shop. They are also available, a lot of sock sets. Cowgirl Yarn in Laramie, Wyoming likes to have my sock sets, and then also Grand Loop Yarn and Cody both carry sock sets from me. Sticks Yarn in Bozeman might still have some. They might have been getting low. I probably need to restock there. But yeah, my sock sets are just usually my wild colors, just kind of fun and a little bit crazy. So you're going to see that more often there. Not that I'm opposed. If you ever see a color on a sock yarn, but you'd like it on a different yarn, feel free to message me. I do keep track of my recipes for most things and can repeat it on different weights. Here is my ski day set. It is on my Scree sock, which is a hard wearing, very durable sock weight yarn. It's 4-ply. It's 80% superwash merino with 20% nylon. It is a product of the US, so I love supporting American made. Another of my yarns, this is my Anything Goes. This happens to be one set that I did make that is not repeatable. This is a one of a kind. This was kind of an end of the day dye pour where I just had fun taking what colors I had left over and putting them together to make a fun sock set. Then something that, before I move on from that, another thing, as you saw with the hopper socks, I have started doing some more DK weight socks myself. So I decided to go ahead and take my sock sets and also work on DK weight socks. So I've worked to create some of these colorways on a DK weight as well. So here's my anything goes on my DK weights. So this is a Mount DK. This is 100% superwash merino. The main skein on this has 245 yards with 49 yards in the coordinates. And I think that would be so fun. Knit up for just an extra cozy pair of socks. So you can see here that I have it on the scree sock as well as on the Mount DK. So you have two options for that similar colorway, but in two different weights of yarn. So next up for the fall, I have jack-o'-lantern with the coordinating orange for heels, toes, and cuffs. This is the scree sock. Again, here it is on my Mount DK. So the speckles on the Mount DK came out fabulously. I love when the speckles break. And so on this one, the purple comes out with blues and reds and all kinds of fun tones. So anyway, again, either on fingering weight or DK weight. That's my jack-o'-lantern. And then a new color that is just getting ready to be listed. At the time I'm filming this isn't in the shop yet, but it will be, hopefully by the time that I release this podcast. I have my Christmas is Coming. This is a new colorway for this Christmas. This is one I just recently dyed. Again, on this one I did kind of a variegated colorway. Let's just pop this one open. I love how this turned out. So I did a variegated colorway with a light green, kind of a more sagey green or olivey green. And then I speckled it with red and more of that green, and then also some turquoise in there. So you've got some teal colors, a little bit of purple that came with that, and then the reds and greens. So that's Christmas is coming. The coordinate is a red with red on red speckles. So I am super excited with how these turned out. This is my Christmas color for 2021. And so this hasn't been released previously. This is a brand new colorway to me, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing this knit up. So there we are. Christmas is coming with its coordinate. All right, I have lots other sock sets in the shop. These are just a few, just a sample of what I have available, so be sure to check those out. Excuse me for a moment while I interrupt myself. I have a fun game going from October 20th to November 20th called Match That Yarn. This is a way to celebrate my second year of dyeing yarn for Sweet Mountain Crafts, and it involves you. So what I'm asking is that you submit photos of images or scenes that you think would make a great yarn colorway, and from those images, I, along with my family, will be choosing the top 12. From there, I'll be dyeing yarns to coordinate with those images. And then at the end, you guys get to vote on the winner of that contest. So there will be winners at multiple stages. All the information will be in the details below. So make sure to check it out and join me for our Match That Yarn. Thanks. Other than that, I will now end this with till next time. So at this point, I'd love to share some of my favorite podcasts to watch or listen to, and then books that I'm reading. So right now, a couple podcasts that I'd like to mention. I love to watch Amy on Noble Character Crafts. She just always has so many great projects, crochet, knitting, cross stitch that she's working on, and is just really fun for me. I feel like I relate well to Amy. Would love to meet you someday in person, Amy. Another one that I love is Ruth Loves to Knit, and this is with Ruth over in the UK. Again, just a really sweet person that I appreciate so much of what she has to say, and her projects as well. She just is very enjoyable to watch. I'm going to give a shout out here to Politically Incorrect Knitters. They did an interview of me for one of their podcasts, and I just, again, really enjoy enjoy their interaction with Ann Pinkava and Deplorable Knitter, and getting to see their very conservative take on politics, and just the opportunity to know that in this world that is just a little bit crazy right now, it's fun to be able to have others that we can relate to, and I enjoy listening to their perspectives on the news, and also get to see what they're knitting and working on, because they have some fun designs and some fun projects that they're always working on. And then last, I'm going to leave you with what am I reading at the moment. I'm reading The Brothers K by Dostoevsky. This is a thicker novel, but not as heavy a read as I thought it was going to be. This is one of those that, you know, I heard of forever. Kept telling myself I should read it. I had a friend in high school who was reading it, who encouraged me to read it, and I didn't read it at that point. So I'm reading it now. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I am surprised at how much I've been enjoying it. It is a classic for a reason, and actually there's things in here that Dostoevsky just had such a great commentary on human interaction, and I have been really enjoying reading the Brothers Karamazov. So if you haven't read it yet, I'd encourage you. You can see where I'm at, so I'm not even halfway yet. We'll see if I'm done with this by my next podcast. But yeah, if you haven't read it yet, I'd really encourage reading it, because there's just so much in it that I'm just thoroughly enjoying. So I am a nighttime reader, which means that lots of times I read as I'm going to sleep. So sometimes I have to go back a page or two just to catch what I might have been falling asleep to the night before. So I can be a little bit slow at reading because of that, but I enjoy it when I get an opportunity to read. So anyway, that's all from me. So thanks for spending this time with me. I've enjoyed this opportunity to share some of my world with you guys, and look forward to sharing more. If you have any input, any comments, any likes, any dislikes, please share them with me. I have so much to learn. So thank you. Bye. Isn't even here.